One more quick question. Could they be considered extreme libertarians? Actually, let's talk about... Okay. Let's circle back to this, and let's talk about the code. The Code of the Brethren. While I was researching this, I reached out to a few different people, actually a few different Discord servers. And I said, what are some of the things that you associate with pirates, or what are some myths about pirates that you would want to see explored? And one of the answers that I got was, the Code of the Pirates. Can I push the button? The Code of the Pirates. Fact or fable? I can't actually hear the sound effects. I hope they're happening.
Yes.
Was that a fact or was that a fable? It was fact. In the movie Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl, Elizabeth Swann cites the Code of the Brethren when she is attacked by pirates, invoking the right of parley. The right of parley was not part of the Code of the Brethren, and she calls it the code, or she says that it was set down by Captains Morgan and Bartholomew. Those are both real pirate captains. They were active 60 to 70 years apart. Captain Morgan was long dead by the time Captain Bartholomew Roberts came along. So not everything that you saw in the movie was factual.
No,
and there wasn't anything about parlay in there. But the Code of the Brethren was a real thing. Starting with the contract that Captain Morgan drew up with the Buccaneers to get them to come with him to raid Spanish settlements and take down Spanish ships. But based on that initial contract, pirate captains that came after would do a similar thing. They would sit down after they put out the recruiting call, right? They would say, I'm planning on going out on a cruise, and I would like a bunch of people to accompany me. He would gather up a bunch of people and pick out the ones that he wanted, because there were a whole bunch of people that wanted to get in on this action. And so they would all gather together and they would draw up a code for that cruise. And it would include a whole bunch of things specifically to limit the powers of the captain. A captain was necessary because if you're going into battle, you don't have time to put everything to a vote, right? You don't go like, all right, chain shot or grape shot, raise. No, okay, chain shot first. Okay, now maybe just, no. At that point, you are already dead. So they had to have a captain, but they hated the idea of someone having absolute authority over a group of people.
Because it did not always go well, and many of these sailors already had experiences of ship's captains torturing, murdering them, cheating them with no consequence at all.
Yes. This is during the time the impressment system had already started and was in full swing in England. Lance, are you familiar with the impressment system at all?
Yes.
Because I've told you horrible stories. At least
yes,
once,
that's why I kind of pre-cringe here. But generally speaking, you could think of it like almost a form of slavery. Impressment was a major part of the War of 1812, right? A lot of it started when the British were impressing American sailors. You could just stop a ship, or you could just go into some port and gather up some guys and put them on your ship. And by the way, I'm making this sound really, really soft. These impressment gangs were absolutely brutal.
Yeah, if you've heard the term press gang, like if someone's being press ganged into something, it means they're being coerced. They are literally being dragged, kicked, beaten into submission.
Right. So yes, these survivors were dragged to the boat, and they worked for the Navy now. Right? Congratulations, you're a sailor. Don't worry about your life back home. You're a British sailor now.
And you will continue to be a sailor until you get lucky enough to get back ashore. There were actually captains would have agreements. They would send ahead and have agreements with other captains to grab flight risks before they came into port. So they would be coming into the harbor and have another ship pass them and would drag the sailors that they thought were going to run as soon as they got back into port and would drag them onto an outgoing ship so that they couldn't get home. This had the added benefit of not having to pay them. You only get paid when you get back ashore. If you stick them back on an outgoing ship, now their contract is with that captain. So there are a lot of bad things going on at this time. And pirates, most of them went pirate specifically in order to avoid this sort of thing. Mutiny was fairly common. I say fairly common because if you failed as a mutineer, or if you mutinied and then were caught, the consequences were horrific. Death once all of the torture was done. All of the torture. So mutiny was strongly discouraged. But people still did it anyway because the conditions were so bad. Right. The food was bad. The person that was responsible for buying the food would buy different food for the officers and the crew, and would often embezzle money for themselves by buying expired, spoiled food for the crew and pocketing the remainder of the money. There was a lot of really bad stuff going on. So the code was that the captain had complete control when battle was joined. Battle could only be joined once the crew had voted to go to battle. You can't go to battle unless you already have the go-ahead from the crew, and then the captain could take over. The quartermaster would act as he was the representative of the crew, right? He was elected by the crew, independent of the captain, and he was responsible for all of the food and all of the resources. That was an elected position. The captain was not in charge. Often the captain was not allowed to have his own quarters. He had to sleep among the men. When they weren't in battle, the captain worked alongside the crew. So let's see, other tenets of the code. There was a social security and insurance sort of a policy. Pirates would be rewarded. I don't know if rewarded is recompensed, compensated for the loss of an eye, the loss of arms or legs, which unfortunately was relatively common.
Pegs aren't free.
Pegs aren't free. Actually, good quality prosthetics at the time were very expensive. You can't just kind of, carve a stick and stick it on the end of your stump. Prosthetics could be very expensive. And so they actually built in all of these kind of odd, looking back on it, this image that we have of pirates doesn't lead one to believe that they would have these kind of liberal ideas about a social security and a safety net for pirates that were injured or were maimed or were killed. Actually, they would give a pension of sorts to the family of any pirates that died, and this was all built into the code, and it was signed off on by all of the pirates before they started a cruise. So yeah, Code of the Brethren, fact or fable, It is a fact, and actually really cool. Some of the broad principles of the Code of the Brethren actually went on to inspire the democratic fervor that led to the American Revolution. They became these kind of folk heroes along the eastern seaboard of the United States, and especially in these small towns. One piece of 8 had the spending power of about $50. Right, so you would have pirates that would find literal chests of these things, and they would just pull into a small town, and you could imagine the effect that would have on the local economy.
Well, there was also a lot of trading that went on from the British colonies that would become the United States of America. They would send traders down with, food, supplies, all these things that they weren't able to get on their little island in exchange for this gold. So there was a lot of back and forth actually between those early Americans, you could call them, and these pirates, right? Even though the pirates were, terrorizing the merchant ships, there was still a steady trading flow between the British colonies in America and the Pirate Republic of Nassau.
Yeah. Sam Bellamy, who we mentioned earlier, he kind of partnered with Benjamin Hornigold to found the Republic. Samuel Bellamy referred to himself as the Robin Hood of the seas. Not kidding, like 100% serious. And
Did you give yourself this name?
And his men were actually on board with it, right? This wasn't an eccentric captain that the crew just kind of, they humor him. Oh yeah, he thinks he's Robin Hood. They called themselves Robin Hood's men. They really believed in this, and they would actually go and visit these towns up and down the coast and become heroes to some of them. Some of them they would blockade and terrorize, but in a lot of places the pirates were heroes.